All right, so today we're going to talk about sales mistakes that salespeople make, and I'll tell you, I know that we've got some SRS people on the call today, as well as some customers, as well as some vendors on here as well. Look, I'll tell you right now that some of this stuff, today's presentation is very specific to the contractor side of the business, but I'd be willing to argue that in many cases, some of these mistakes are relevant to our own people and even some of our vendors. So just some things to think about as we move forward and, try to identify, how does this apply to me and my business. Guys, I want to let you know that there's some good news and some bad news. And the bad news is, and I want to be really fair to all of our salespeople, and I tell you that selling is not easy. And I think that there's a lot of people out there that want to say, oh man, selling's easy, it's great. You just got to have the gift of the gab, and they try to reduce it down to this sort of nonsensical, mindset. But I'll tell you right now, selling is not, you got to be a really special person to be in sales. And you've got to have thick skin. It's an industry, it's a job that is shrouded in rejection, especially in the day of like telephone selling and, us having to, follow up with customers on the phone. The phone gives people tremendous power, and it's really easy to just hang up or be rude and obnoxious. Not an easy thing to do. And as a matter of fact, I'm often asked by people, what makes the best type of salesperson? And we hear about all these tests that you can have people take from a recruiting standpoint to see whether or not they have the right skills to be a hunter or a farmer, or whatever role we want them to play. And I always say it's really hard to identify the perfect salesperson, because you're asking us to come up with one person that can handle a variety of cultures, as well as a huge number of people that are all at different stages within the buying cycle, and different behavioral styles and expectations within those stages. So it's like really hard to identify like who would be the best choice for that. And hopefully by some of the questions that we answer today, some of these mistakes that we're highlighting, we might sort of pave the way for us to figure out what type of person that we want to work for our organization. The good news from a sales perspective is the fact that sales is nothing more than a series of definable and repeatable skills that everybody can learn. So again, sales is not easy, and I know some of the salespeople out there going, yeah, man, word. And by the way, if you're out there going, no, I think selling is really easy, I'm going to tell you to raise your prices, because it's not easy, unless you're just the guy who's just giving things away and you don't have really any issues. But there are some skills and there are some steps, and we're going to kind of talk a little bit about that today. So the first thing I want to tell you, and I wasn't sure whether I should place this as the number one reason or the last reason, but I will tell you right now that everything starts with personal accountability. And you look at this cartoon here, and it says, hey, the sales team did all they can do, so I guess I'd have to blame the results on the customer. Guys, I'll tell you right now that when I was a sales rep early on in my selling career, I was selling estimating software to auto body shops back in the mid-1990s. And it was tough industry. And I found myself in many occasions blaming the customer for being, quote, too stupid to make a smart decision. I showed them how I was going to save them time. I showed them how I was going to make them money. I can't help it if they're too stupid to make a smart decision. And what I realized as I was having failure after failure after failure was that the one common denominator in all of this, and I thank God for the wisdom that I was given on that particular day, but the common denominator was me. The entire state of Virginia, which is where I was, that was where my territory was, the entire state of Virginia was not stupid. It had to be something that I was doing or not doing that made it difficult for them to see the value in doing business with me. And once I, figured out what it is that I can do to put myself in a position where I can be more successful, and then I made the commitment to execute on that, I had a lot more success. So let's talk a little bit about the thing that I want you as salespeople to think about, and also as a business owner or manager, you need to coach this. Is if you go back to the Stephen Covey book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about habit 1 is be proactive, and he introduces us to the circle of concern and the circle of influence. And within the circle of concern on a sales side of things, we hear people talk about the weather's an issue. The equity that we have in our brand, what people think about us, the economy, it challenges our effectiveness, our low-priced competition, building codes, business regulations, price-sensitive customers, stupid customers, skittish customers. We now hear COVID-19 as being an issue. And I want to be clear when I talk about this circle of concern. These are things that absolutely 1,000% challenge our ability to be successful, okay? But the key is that we can't allow those things to empower us to the point where they have complete control over our effectiveness. And when I stand in the front of a room and I talk to salespeople one-on-one, I'll ask them, do low-priced competition, people out there that are willing to give the project away, does that challenge our ability to sell the project? And everybody goes, hell yeah. And I agree with them 1,000%. But the question that I want them to think about is, what can they do within their own power and control that's going to put them in a better position to be successful in spite of those challenges? Guys, as long as we're constantly focusing on what it is that we have control over, the better off we're going to be. So within this circle of concern, there's a circle of influence. And these are things that we have the ability to affect through our efforts. And they're things like the prospect's perception of value, the prospect's perception of urgency, or sense of urgency, the number of referrals I received, the prospect's level of trust in us. And what's interesting here is that what we're trying to do, and what we'll talk about, a couple times today, is we try to use the sales process for the benefit of driving the results or influencing the customer in the areas that are going to help them feel more comfortable in doing business with us. So I would ask you this. Do you think from a business owner, actually I'll ask you this from a salesperson's perspective, if you're a sales rep for your business, do you think it is more valuable use of your time to worry about the competition who's out there selling cheaper than you? Or do you think it's more valuable for you to think about, how can I increase the perceived value in doing business with us? How can I influence the customer to see the value in doing business with us? As long as we as salespeople, as long as you as coaches and owners are getting your people to think about, your salespeople to think about, what can you do within your own power and control that are going to put you in the best position to increase the value or overcome the price objection? We're at least keeping them focused on stuff that is going to give them a certain degree of power, as opposed to allowing themselves to victimize themselves over things that they really have no influence over. And then ultimately, when you drive down, and this is something that was introduced after Covey wrote his book, 7 Habits, is the circle of control. Now, granted, we can influence the customer based on the way that we facilitate the sales process, but what it really comes down to is our ability to influence our customer comes down to how we're executing on the things that we have 100% complete control over. So things like, am I prepared? Do I know the sales process? Do I have a sales system? Do I know what makes us different and better? And am I committed to all the activities as a salesperson that are going to put me in a position where I can influence the behaviors that I want from my prospects and really overcome the issues that we have in that circle of concern? So when I talk about people needing to be accountable, I will tell you this. I could be the very best sales trainer in the galaxy, and I'm not suggesting that I am. But if I was, I would not be able to change anything in your life as a salesperson or in the life or in the mindset of your sales team if they weren't accountable to the fact that their results that what they achieve is the results of their behaviors. It's the results of what it is that they can control. I've got to take ownership of it. If I'm constantly blaming the economy or the COVID-19 or the customer or the competition or the owner of the business, then I'm going to burn myself out. I mean, it's completely counterproductive. Number 2 mistake that salespeople make is they completely shortchange the sales process. And guys, I will tell you that a sales process, much like selling in itself, is a series of repeatable steps that your sales team takes to convert prospects into customers. And I will tell you that you as a business owner or a manager, you need to build and coach your salespeople to the process. It's one of the most important things you can do to impact your sales team's success. Now, the sales process I teach is 7 steps. Now, I'm not going to tell you, maybe it's 6 steps. I'm not going to tell you that mine is the only answer. But I will tell you that you need to have some idea of what the process is, because that process is going to tell you from a real high-level view everything that needs to happen to facilitate a change in the mind of your customer. See, our ultimate goal here is to establish rapport and trust and get the deal. We want the contract to be signed. But I need to understand that I can't walk into the house and say, here's our contract, sign here. I've got to do a series of steps that are going to allow me to earn the right to get to that stage of the process. And that process is supported by a series of other steps. The ability to close the deal comes down to how effective was I in the beginning of the process at establishing rapport? Did I use that rapport to lower the prospect's walls? We talk about the perception, right? Roofing contractors, according to the Better Business Bureau, for the past 12 years have been identified as the least trusted business type that consumers do business with. 10 straight years in a row. I feel like the My Pillow guy when I do this. I promise my pillow is going to be the most comfortable. It's foolish for us to assume that we could walk in from a cold start. I don't care how powerful your marketing is, that I'm going to be able to walk in from a cold start and just instantly have trust and rapport. I need to have trust and rapport so that I can start asking them questions. The needs assessment is about showing them what happened on their roof. Here's what I found when I did your roof inspection. I'm going to now teach you something about your home that you didn't know so that I can then become that trusted advisor. But I'm also going to ask the customer questions about their concerns, their wants, their needs, their process, so that I can make sure that when I tell my company story, that I'm shaping that company story in a way that speaks directly to the customer. Once I tell the company's story, I then take a temperature check. I ask a commitment question. Based on what we've talked about so far, how confident are you in our ability to handle this project? Assuming they feel really good about it, we then go to the product presentation stage. We give them options. We invite them into the design process. They make choices for their home. They become more emotionally attached to the project. We then ask another commitment question based on how happy are you with the way the project's shaping up. Assuming they say good, we ask a trial close question. Excellent. Besides the cost, is there any reason why we couldn't get your project started today? They say no, it's all going to come down to the money. We then present our proposal. We provide that to them, hopefully in a financed payment, monthly payment price format, and then we ask for the sale. But the point is all of those things facilitate trust. And all of those things are necessary for us to close the sale. I can walk in and establish great rapport with the customer, and I can ask them really amazing questions. But unless I use the company story in the product presentation stage to show them how we're the contractor that was created to address their specific wants, needs, and concerns, unless I can show them that, I'm providing no real value. I can walk into the house and establish great rapport and deliver a great company story. But if I have no idea what the customer's pain points are, what they want, what they need, what their fears and concerns are, then I'm basically spitballing. I'm just throwing a bunch of spaghetti against the wall and hoping that something sticks. So this entire process is very, very valuable. Okay? Now, I will tell you that a lot of people shortchange this process. They go in, they engage in a few degrees of small talk. They then say, hey, look, I got a couple different shingle options that I can offer you here. And then they present a price. And guys, I will tell you right now that if you're doing it that way, you're leaving a significant amount of money on the table because you have the ability. If you're successful doing it that way, then I would suggest to you that by incorporating some of these other elements into the process, you pave the way for you to dramatically increase your pricing and subsequently drive your profitability even higher. The third mistake that salespeople make is they don't utilize a system. Now, the system is a necessary part of the process. The system includes all of the elements and tools that support the process and facilitates movement. It's your ability to show the customer as you're moving through the process. The customer doesn't see the process. They don't know, okay, we're now in the opening stage, and in a few seconds, wait for it, we're going to transition into the needs assessment stage. The customer doesn't see that. What the customer sees is they see the system. They don't know that it's a system designed to help them get to yes, but that system is something that you're using to develop trust, provide proof, and demonstrate to them why you should be their contractor of choice. I'll walk through really quick some of the things that might be included in a system. In the opening stage, I'm a big fan of an appointment confirmation email. It takes 30 seconds for me to shoot a video on my cell phone, letting the customer know, hi, I'm John with Less Risky Roofing. Looking forward to meeting with you on Monday the 21st. Here's what we're going to talk about. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. By me doing that, I make a connection with the customer. I'm superficially developing a relationship with them and subsequently differentiating myself from the other contractors in the marketplace who aren't taking those steps. Now, after seeing the video, when they open the door to greet me at the time of the appointment, there's familiarity. I know you. You're the guy on the video. They're not having that conversation with you, but in their mind, that familiarity creates a level of comfort where they're like, hey, come on in. From a needs assessment stage, you're going to use your inspection report, your inspection photos and videos, a project planning folder that's designed to help guide you through a question checklist, your client testimonials with pricing on it, because we want to use that as social proof to show all the happy customers. We also want a price condition by putting the pricing on those documents. Our company story, do we have a presentation that we're prepared to show the customer? Is that presentation supported by a script? Yes, I said it, salespeople, a script. Scripts are very, very important, not because I want to take the salesperson's voice or because I want to put them in a box and take away their personality. You could still use your personality, but the script is going to enable you to memorize and internalize all of the key talking points. And then as you deliver that, you can shape that into however it is that you need to speak directly to the questions that you answered or asked when you asked your needs assessment questions. And I'm also a big fan of limited use of tie-down questions. They're important, aren't they? Tie-down questions help secure the customer's agreement on the critical importance on some of the differentiators. Wouldn't you agree? So we're going to use those types of questions sparingly because we're not interrogating the witness here, but we're just going to look at certain key things that we do that differentiate ourselves, and then we're going to ask the customer to acknowledge that that's important, isn't it? The product presentation stage. Do you have a demo kit? Can you show that? I mean, I love the synthetic felt thing. I could give them synthetic felt and paper felt, and I can ask them to wrestle me with it, and you're going to see that there's a huge advantage to synthetics. In what other ways can you do that? You know, if you're selling like a duration shingle or a dynasty shingle, you have the ability to show how difficult it is to pull those nails through that, tear-resistant reinforced woven band that they put on the shingle. Do you have a good, better, best system that you can sell the customer? Are you showing them the fact that you're using Eagle View reports to provide a more accurate measurement and a more thorough proposal? Do you have support documents to show proof of the fact that your product is better, your system is better, your warranty is better? From a proposal situation, are you creating a customer-friendly proposal and agreement? Guys, some contracts I've seen are so ironclad that you have to be out of your mind to sign into them. Make sure they're customer friendly, okay? And also make sure that you've got a financing payment calculator that allows you to very easily convert the retail price into a variety of monthly payment options that gives the customer the choice of choosing which payment is best for me. And then with all that stuff being said, then it just comes down to me being prepared to ask that one question, can I have your business? And then us being prepared with scripts to answer the objections that we're going to hear. Now, again, the scripts aren't designed to take away your personality. The scripts are designed to help you memorize the talking points so that when you are presented with that, you can deliver that in a way that makes it seem like it's not scripted. Does that make sense? The script is important. It's like a paradox, right? The script is important because it makes you allows you to sound not scripted. Think about that. The fourth issue that we see from a sales mistake perspective is focusing too much on price. And I can tell you that our salespeople at SRS would tell you that you as customers focus too much on price. That's a little joke there, but they probably would. Guys, look, I will tell you this, that I believe that our challenges with price has very little to do with the prospect and has everything to do with what's happening in the mind of the salesperson. Guys, I'll tell you this, and I want to be really clear. Your selling price has nothing to do with the market, the competition, or the customer. Your selling price is a representation of all the costs incurred by your business to deliver the exact results that your customers want on the project and the results that you want too. You want to do the job right. You want to do it in a way that reduces and eliminates callbacks. You want to do it in a way that provides a safe and happy experience for not only your workers, but also the homeowners. You want to do it in a way that provides a safe and great experience for all of the neighbors in that neighborhood as well. Being able to deliver those results costs you money. And the costs of those items has nothing to do with your competition. It's got nothing to do with the economy, and it has nothing to do with the customer. So when you look at your P&L, and this is a very simplified version of a roofing contractor's P&L, and I took this from the last published cost of doing business report from the NRCA, we see that the median, the 50th percentile, so 50% do a little better, 50% do worse, but the median net profit for a roofing contractor is 5.2%. And I always encourage people to remember that Uncle Sam, he likes to take a little bit of that. So your selling price as a contractor, when I say it has nothing to do with the competition or the market or the customer, it has everything to do with what are my job costs on this project, what's my overhead on this project, and as the business owner, what is the return on investment that I seek for the blood, sweat, and tears and the financial risk that I incur every day when I go into business. Excuse me. Guys, and I will tell you this, some salespeople, some of your salespeople suffer from something that I refer to as sales guilt. They don't know how the company makes money and keeps score. But what they do know is that the customer's telling you that your price is $3,000 higher than the competitor, and they think, your sales reps think, that price difference is the result of what you're putting in the bank. They think you're driving home every day with a trunkload of $1,000 bills. So my suggestion is you need to share this information with them. I wouldn't print the P&L and hand it to them and say, hey guys, read it and weep. But I can look at cost of doing business data. I can talk in terms of percentages, and I can have a meeting and a pizza party to talk about, hey, let's roll out some monopoly money and let's talk about what it costs to run a business. Let them realize that the reasons why you're more expensive is because of all of the ways that you're building value and safety and a great experience and for the customer. Or it's because the other guy's a moron and doesn't know what his costs are. Guys, I would also tell you that the sales process adds context to the selling price because it feeds the perception of a higher price. If you do everything right from a sales process perspective and utilize the right system, you pave the way for the customer to come to the conclusion in their mind that you're probably going to be more expensive than the other guys. And that's not a bad thing because in the end, I simply want them to measure the value of those differences against the cost required to obtain that value. And think about this, and this is just important from a peace of mind perspective. What is peace of mind worth for your prospect? What is it worth for them to not be a statistic in the Better Business Bureau? What is it worth for them to not be featured on Live at 5 by an investigative reporter who's talking about how they got screwed? We know those stories exist, and it's your job as the contractor to help protect them from making those bad decisions. One other thing I want you to think about as it relates to price is where are you within the circle of trust? Guys, if you're inside the circle of trust and your price is more expensive than the guy who's outside the circle of trust, they're going to think that he doesn't know what he's doing. But if you're both outside the circle of trust and you're $1,000 more expensive than the other guy, they're going to think that you're ripping them off. So again, when we talk about the process and the system that supports it, it's all designed to put you within that circle. Because then and only then are you in a position where you can, convince them or get them to think in their own mind that the other guy might not know what he's doing. And I'm going to tell you this, okay, and this is really quick because I don't want to go too far off subject here. Every once in a while, I come across contractors who tell me that they made the decision that they don't negotiate. I mean, they literally will go out to the sales call and tell the customer, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, when we agreed to bid this project for you, we put our best foot forward to provide the very best price we could to deliver the exact results that you guys want on this project. If you're looking for us to, cut the cost or negotiate, regrettably, there's nothing we can do. We would need to remove ourselves from consideration. Now, while I do know that a lot of sales guys on this call are going to tell me, John, that's a scary thing to say, I will tell you this, that in every single case, every time a contractor tells me that they've stopped negotiating, what they tell me is that it hasn't changed their close rates even 1 percentage point. So what they're telling me is but when I used to negotiate price, I closed 5 or 6 out of every 10 jobs I bid. And now that I've stopped negotiating price, I close 5 to 6 jobs that I bid. The difference is they're making a heck of a lot more money. And the reason that happens, and I can't prove this because I don't have a CRM dashboard that'll tell you, here's how much money you're leaving on the table. But I will ask you to consider this. We would all probably agree that it's unreasonable to expect that we're going to get every job that we bid on. We're smart enough to know that some people are just going to say no or they're not going to have the money. And we would also probably agree that in some cases when we lower our price, we're lowering our price in an effort to get a job that we're probably not going to get anyway. And if we agree to that, then isn't it reasonable to suggest that in some cases we're lowering our price on the job that we probably would have got if we didn't lower the price? You can't have it both ways. You can't say, yeah, I lower the price for the benefit of getting a job that I'm probably not going to get anyway. If you're doing that, then you're also lowering the price on the job that you're probably going to get at the higher price. And that's why I'm telling you that the selling price has more of an issue. The problems that we have is more a result of what's happening in the mind of the salesperson than it has anything to do with what's happening in the mind of the customer. This is kind of a funny one, and I was trying to figure out a way to word this, but I think another mistake that salespeople make is they think they're a hell of a lot better at sales than they really are. And that gets you into trouble, guys. We sort of get soft. We get complacent. We get sort of like everything goes into muscle memory. And then when we are in that muscle memory moment, then we do sound scripted. Then we do sound like we're not authentic. We're not real. And that is something that your customers will see. Guys, I will tell you this, that sales excellence is not a destination. It's a journey that requires an ongoing process of evaluation and personal development. Guys, I love sales. And I love sales because it is something that every day I can learn something. We've got some amazing salespeople in our organization. And as good as I think I know, much as I think I know about selling, I love when I get to talk to some of our sales guys and they just make me think about things in a little bit of a different way. They, sort of influence my mindset to think about a different way of approaching a customer or finding a prospect or converting a target. And I would encourage everybody to be students of selling. Invite competitors into your house. Listen to them try to sell their business. Listen to what they say about you and your business. You will learn some things of what is a good thing to do, and you'll also learn some things that are not so good to do. But I want you to think about this. If you do that, invite them into your house, and I want you to think of a couple things. How often are they referring to you by name? Do they ask you for the sale? And do they seem happy? Because one of the things that you'll see when people do comp shops is they're always going to tell you that very infrequently do they ever use the customer's name. That's because they're in muscle memory. I'm just rolling through my presentation. Guys, I will tell you this. I read a book many years ago by a guy named Charles Handy. It was called The Age of Paradox. And he introduced us to a concept called the sigmoid curve. And what the sigmoid curve asks us is, when is the best time for us to change? And this could speak to our relationships. This could speak to our business. This could speak to our economy and our government. This could speak to us as individuals in an organization or within a sales team. Because as we all know that, success is somewhat of a roller coaster ride. And what it asks us is when during this process do we think is the best time to change? And mostly when I ask people this question, they'll always say, you need to change right here before you start to go down that hill. And while I would understand why the reasons why they think that's a good spot to change, what they don't realize is once you've got to the top, you've already started your decline. So what Handy says is the best time to change is before you get to the top, because that area in the middle there is a degree of uncertainty and challenge and failure and learning. And only when you're growing can you withstand the uncertainty and the chaos of that question mark area there, and that will drive you up to that higher level. So the reason I'm sharing this with you here today is because I want you to know is if you think you're at the top of your game, you've probably already started your decline. And if you're on the growth pattern and you're thinking, man, I'm building and I'm growing and I'm working my way to the top, my challenge for you is to figure out what you can do differently. Try to reinvent yourself. Dive into the process. And I would encourage you guys to get into a situation where every single sales interaction, you are stopping yourself at the end of that interaction as you get in the car to travel to your next appointment or go home for the day or whatever it is that you're doing, and you ask yourself these 5 questions. What happened on that sales call? What worked and what didn't work and why? What did I learn about the prospect? And how does that help me in future calls? What did I learn about myself and things that I might need to change or do better? And then the one question is, whether you get the sale or not, we need to challenge ourselves to say, if I had a chance to take a mulligan, If I could do a do-over, what's the one thing that I might do differently that would make it easier for me to close the sale, provide a different result, sell a higher contract price, upsell the client? You ask yourself these questions after every single sales call, and you hold yourself accountable to executing those ideas. I guarantee you're going to sell a ton more product. Guys, when I told you that I was in Virginia and I didn't sell anything, and I thought it was the customer's fault. And the day I realized it was me and started to think about, well, what would I do differently if I had a chance to go back and do that sales call all over again? And I put that stuff into action, I never miss quota. Never miss quota. And I promise you'd have the same results. The number 6 mistake that salespeople make is they don't ask for the sale. Believe it or not, statistics suggest that 63% of sales interactions end with the salesperson not asking for the sale. I mean, I can't speak to whether that's true of you and your business. I can't even speak to whether that's true of our business. Because if we had 40% of our sales, 40% of the time, if 4 out of 10 times your salespeople met with a client and they didn't ask for the order, that should be a huge concern. Guys, the bottom line is this: there's no place in today's selling world for anyone who's too timid to provide his or her customers with obvious benefits and solutions. And that's something that you need to hold your people accountable to. I've mentioned in our closing clinic, which is one of the webinars you can go back and view on the SRS distribution website, we talked about head trash. Head trash are the thought patterns and emotional tendencies that hinder a salesperson's ability to respond to business issues in a productive and rational way. We have salespeople out there that are afraid of rejection. They have a high need for approval. They suffer from call anxiety, typically because they don't want to be rejected and they feel that they're not going to be approved, or they have a negative view of selling. And guys, it's that negative view of selling. I don't want to be seen as pushy, or I'm not a typical salesperson. Guys, what you think determines how you sell. And if you think that selling is a dirty word, you are going to do everything within your power to not be that type of person, which means you're not going to sell. And guys, I'm telling you, if I was one-on-one with you, there would be people that would go, dude, you're singing to the choir on that. I don't like to ask for the order because I don't want to be that kind of a salesperson. Guys, I'm telling you right now, you've got to. As unfair as I think it is, I'd love for people to just jump in your shopping cart all day, every day. It just doesn't work like that. Think about it this way, guys. There's few prerequisites that I want people to think about. And by the way, all of these prerequisites are things that are identified within your circle of influence. And these are all things that are handled at some stage during the sales process that's supported by the system we spoke about. These are the 3 criteria. The customer must want, need, and be able to use what you're selling. Guys, think about it this way. If you're out there trying to convince the person to buy from you or buy something that they don't want, they don't need, and they can't use, then you are one of those salespeople that you don't want to be. But assuming that's something that they want, need, and can use, then who better to offer it than you? The customer must also believe in you and your company. This comes from us asking questions to understand what's important, and then us delivering a company story that shows them why we're the contractor that's best suited to those wants, needs, concerns, and perceptions. Again, if the customer doesn't want, need, or they're able to use what we're selling, if they don't believe in us and our product, and we try to sell them, we try to close the deal, then we are one of those bad salespeople. And the other thing is the customer must completely understand the full nature and scope of the offer. This comes from the proposal stage. You're laying out the proposal, you're showing them all the things that they're asking them to do for you, and then you're presenting them with the price and the payment options. Guys, if all of these conditions have been met, you've earned the right to ask for the sale. But there's 3 more prerequisites, and these are things that are identified. Oops, I lost my mouse again. These are things that are identified within your circle of control. The salesperson must be comfortable with their need to ask for the commitment. The salesperson must be prepared to remain silent after asking for the commitment. Now, I want to backtrack on that a little bit because some of the people go, well, dude, that sounds like one of those old cheesy sales techniques that says the first person that talks loses. It's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying is if I ask the customer, Mr. Customer, next thing we need to do is get you on the schedule. Does Monday work or is Tuesday better? I'm going to remain silent until they tell me which day works or until they tell me why they're not willing to move forward. It's not because the first person that talks loses. It's because I just asked them a direct question. I asked them to make a choice, and I want to give them that opportunity to make the choice. And the other reason I'm telling you that is because people with a high degree of head trash, when they ask that question, are going to go, would you rather schedule the job on Monday or would Wednesday be better? We then, because we asked that question and we've got head trash, we want to pull it back. Well, because we're really good and we're going to take really good care of you. And, obviously you got to take some time to think about it. So why don't I call you in a couple of months and we can see if you guys have made a decision. Ask the question and let them answer it. And then the third thing is, it's in our circle of control, am I prepared to answer the objections that I'm likely going to hear? I want to think about it. I want to get 75 more estimates. Your price is a little higher than we thought it was going to be. I need to discuss it with my husband, or I need to discuss it with my wife. Am I prepared to address those questions that I'm going to get, those objections that I'm going to get? Those are the things that are inside of the circle of control. Guys, the number 7 mistake salespeople make is they don't follow up. Guys, this is shocking, and I can't, again, speak to how this relates directly to your business, but I can promise you that there's probably some people on the call where the stats are significantly worse. Guys, statistics suggest that 48% of salespeople never follow up after the first meeting. It also goes on to say that 12% of salespeople only make 3 contacts and stop. And 80% of sales are made on the 5th to 12th contact. Think about this for the contractors that are on the call. How often are you called by a vendor or a distributor and that person says, yeah, man, I'll follow up. And then you never hear from them again, or you don't hear from them for like several months. Trust me when I tell you that some of your salespeople are doing that too. I ask the question. I don't ask it in a large group setting because I don't want to embarrass anybody. But if I'm one-on-one with you guys and I ask the question, what happens to a lead that doesn't convert? Most contractors tell me they throw it away. I just assume they went with somebody else. That is criminal. Guys, Market Sharp tells us that 60% of unsold leads will buy within 18 months. The question is are you following up with them and consistently to make sure that when they're ready to make that decision, that you're the only person they think of? Think about it this way. If I'm running 100 leads and I'm closing about 30% of them, which is low, by the way, I would want your numbers to be higher, and I can help you do that. If you're running 100 leads and you're closing 30% of them, that means 70 unsold leads. Now, industry experts suggest that the cost of an issued lead is about $365. So 70 leads times $365 just for the privilege of going out and meeting with that customer. It's costing your business $25,500. And we're throwing that away. I assume they went with somebody else. But Market Sharp tells us that 60% of those leads will buy within the next 18 months, which results in 42 additional contracts. And depending what our net profit is, in this case, I've got it at $1,150. That's an additional profit of $48,300. Guys, and this is, I'm going to tell you right now, we talk about CRMs, Roof Hub, our integration partner with Job Progress and GiddyUp, 2 excellent customer relationship management tools and business management tools. They will show you how to maintain reasonable contact with those customers so that they know that you still want their business. And guys, I get the question all the time in seminars, John, how often am I supposed to follow up? You keep following up until they tell you that they bought from somebody else or until they tell you to leave them alone. I'm sorry, that's the answer. You keep following up. That lead costs you $365. I'm going to stay on them. I'm going to be smart about it. I might send them a text. I might pick up the phone and call them. I might drop them an email every now and then. I'm not doing it every day, every hour. I'm not waterboarding them, but I'm staying in contact with them until they tell me that we've decided to do something else. And I will tell you this, guys, from a coaching standpoint, you should encourage your salespeople to never leave any appointment without knowing what's next. There should always be a next step. They're going to follow up with a different product. They're going to follow up with a different design. They're going to follow up with somebody in their company. They're going to follow up with some different pricing. They're going to follow up so they can meet all decision makers. There needs to be some next step. Now, does that mean that because the sales reps are pushing for a next step that involves me meeting with both decision makers next week to discuss the project, because I'm asking for that I'm going to get it 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But here's the thing I want you to think about. If I'm successful even 20% of the time, that's 20% of the time where I'm shortening the sales cycle and I'm getting the opportunity to get in the front of that prospect one more time. I'm winning. Okay. And I'm not winning against the homeowner. I'm winning against the competition who's just throwing those leads in the garbage. Guys, I'll tell you that another big mistake that our salespeople make is they focus too much on the shingle brand. Because I'm going to tell you, back in the dawn of the, contractor certification programs, many of you guys were promised that, hey man, if you join our program, you're going to be part of an elite group of professional roofing contractors who has the ability to offer something that nobody else has to offer. But as the pond became diluted, right, and now more and more people became invited into the programs, and more, shingle manufacturers decided, oh, I've got my certification program and I've got my certification program. That, limited group of elite professionals turned into hundreds, if not thousands, of certified contractors. So please don't make it about the shingle brand. Guys, there's studies done every year at the NAHB, and the most recent survey suggests that of the 65% of all the roofs that were replaced in 2018, 65% of them were paid for by the homeowner, and 68% of those homeowners don't know what shingle's on their home. And 43% of those who don't said that they went with the shingle because it's the one the contractor recommended. If you don't believe me, think about it this way. If you put brochures in the front of the customer and says, hey, look, we're pleased to offer any of the following brands. Which one would you like us to put on your home? How many of your clients are going to ask you, well, what do you guys recommend? Because guys, they're not buying a shingle. Okay, they're buying a contractor. Now, I'm not taking anything away from all these different brands that we're looking at here. They're all amazing products. They all provide a tremendous amount of value to you and your customers, and they all do a really good job of marketing their product to you and to the marketplace so that people are familiar with their name. So I'm not telling you to not highlight the fact that I am a Tamco user or a CertainTeed user, for example. What I am telling you to do is that you can utilize that. Look, very simply stated, I could say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I could put any brand of shingle on your house that you want, but I've been doing this for 25 years, and in my professional opinion, I recommend going with this product because this is the best product for your money. In most cases, they're going to agree with you because they don't have any information to argue. I've known contractors back in the day when I worked for a shingle manufacturer. I knew roofers who were able to sell homeowners who had family members that worked for the competitor, and they were able to sell them my shingle. And it's simply because the contractor has a tremendous amount of influence. Imagine me being a Tamco, a guy, and going into the house of somebody who's got a family member that works for CertainTeed, and me being able to convince that CertainTeed family member that, you really should go with Tamco, and closing the deal. Don't undermine the level of influence that you have at the kitchen table. And some of you guys on the call are probably laughing now and going, I've done that. Good for you. That's the power of your influence. Guys, I do just want to quickly mention our sponsor, Labor Connect. Guys, industries suggest that, there's a tremendous billions and billions of dollars every year that are left on the table by contractors because they don't have experienced labor to go out and take advantage of that. Our contractors are seeing, extended backlogs, poor customer experiences for their clients, and it's really become a challenge. We've teamed up with Labor Connect as an exclusive strategic partner of SRS Distribution. They can help you utilize their crews for asphalt shingle installation, metal roofing, tile, gutters, EPMD, and TPO. The difference with Labor Connect is all of their crews, and they've got about 3,500 of them nationwide. All of their crews are licensed and certified to meet all local and state licensing requirements. Their experience is verified. They get insurance is verified to the point where you, as the contractor who's hiring them, actually receives insurance documentation from the carrier letting you know that that subcontractor is insured to work with you. And they're also reference checked. They're reference checked with 3 references to determine quality, cleanup, final inspection pass-fail ratio, and you're going to find that it's a really solid opportunity for you guys to scale your business. So just think about it from the perspective of you have the ability to increase your capacity due to increased sales, reduce your backlogs to provide a better homeowner experience, less time that you spend and money and stress trying to find skilled labor and vet that labor. And then what opportunities does that create for you guys to scale and grow your business? as COVID-19 starts to end and we start getting back to work and getting busier, and you start getting more and more calls about people who are saying, hey, I need this project done, I want to get it done, look at Labor Connect as an opportunity to help you really jumpstart your entrance back into the market. And I think that you'll be really pleased with it. I will tell you this, as far as their vetting is concerned, they do extensively vet their labor. They're telling us that less than 20% of the crews that apply are actually admitted into the program. So if you have any questions about this service, call me, email me. I'm happy to jump on a call and kind of explain it to you, and I'll get Nathan Higgs, who as part of that organization, to really explain the ins and the outs and what he can do, not only from a labor perspective, but they can also help you with production management as well. So they'll do the takeoffs, they'll schedule the deliveries, they'll schedule the crew, they'll do all that stuff. All you have to do is just collect the paperwork and cash the checks. So the other mistake that we see salespeople make, and this is a big one, guys, this is being unprepared. I've always said that it's better to be prepared for an opportunity that never comes than have an opportunity come and not be prepared for it. Guys, are you prepared to answer questions? Your customers want to know, who are you? Why should I trust you? What types of products do you use? Should I be getting multiple estimates? What's it going to cost us? Your company's story helps answer a lot of those questions. Are you prepared to ask questions? How long have you been thinking about this project? What type of research have you done? What concerns do you have about starting a project like this? Have you met with anybody else regarding this project? Guys, I would also tell you to take those questions one step further in your preparation and use a concept called premeditated selling. I know that when I ask a question, based on my experience, I'm going to get a couple of different answers. And I'm going to then build my questioning strategy and by being prepared to make sure that I'm able to answer whatever answer they give me. And by doing that, I ask more questions. I keep peeling layers off of the onion. Have you met with any other contractors regarding this project? Yes, actually, you're the 17th contractor we're meeting with. So I might respond and say, wow, you're certainly doing your homework. Can I ask you a quick question? Well, what are you hoping that I can do that none of the others can? And they respond, well, what do you mean? I mean, we just want to make sure we're making an informed decision. And you could say, no, I get that. I guess I'm just assuming at this point that you've probably got a strong sense of what's involved in this project. I mean, the fact that you're inviting me into your home tonight suggests that maybe you still haven't found exactly what it is that you're looking for. Would that statement be true? Now, if they tell you, well, I just want to make sure I'm getting the right price, you could say, oh, I get that. I know price is important, but you've met with 16 other contractors and you've probably got 16 other proposals that you're looking at. What is it about any one or all of those that makes you think that none of them are the best price? The bottom line is they don't know. And your efforts at that point to flesh that out and now say to them, hey, look, let's do this, okay? Whether you guys decide to do business with me or not, why don't we at least utilize our time together to answer whatever questions that you have so you have all the information that you need to make the best decision for you and your family. Does that seem fair? And then let them ask you questions. And as they begin to introduce you to other proposals that they see or questions that they have relative to those other proposals, you can then introduce them to things that you do that makes you different and better by saying things like, well, if you're going to go with this guy, one of the things I would suggest is that you ask him this question and that you make sure they're doing this, because here's what we found. And now that gives you the opportunity to establish yourself and to set a standard that makes it very hard for some of those other people to deal with. But the point of this message here is, if I'm going to ask a question, I should be able to anticipate what the answers are that I'm going to get based on my vast experience. And now based on those different answers that I'm likely to get, what other questions am I going to ask to continue the dialogue and really help me get to the burning issue? You also need to be prepared to answer the objections that you're likely to hear. Guys, we hear these objections over and over and over again, and many of us are as unprepared today as we were the first time we ever heard them. Go back to the coaching clinic video or the Coffees for Closer webinar on the SRS website. We talk a little bit about these objections. If you want to dive deeper, call me. We'll set something up for you and your team. And guys, I'm going to throw this bonus one out there. It's really not something that kills the sale, but I think it's something that hurts every salesperson. Number 10 mistake is we do not self-generate leads. Guys, 92% of customers say that they'd give you a referral, yet only 11% of salespeople ask for them. That's criminal. All the work that you and your organization has put into providing a great experience and a quality project for the homeowner, and 91% of them are eager to provide a referral, and we're not asking for it. That's a shame. The other thing is very few of us, and this is speaking more to the retail side than the storm side, but very few salespeople will cloverleaf the neighborhoods upon signing a contract with their client. And by cloverleafing, all I mean is, am I knocking the 3 or 4 doors across the street and the 2 doors on either side just to let them know that we're going to be in the neighborhood helping their neighbor? Guys, when I ask people in seminars, how many of you will do that? How many of you will knock the doors surrounding your client to let them know that you're coming to the neighborhood? Less than 5% of the room on average raises their hand. And when I ask that 5% who does door knock, how often does it turn into an appointment? They tell me almost every single time, if I knock on 5 doors, one of them is going to agree to meet with me. And the reason is this: they have a home that was built at the same time, probably used the same materials, was built by the same builder, and has certainly been subjected to the same weather. And they are wondering, do they have problems? Should they get their home looked at? But they're not going to invite you into their home because you're a roofer and you're the least trusted business type that consumers do business with, and you're going to try to sell me something. It's a nightmare. So I'm going to spare you my story because I went a little bit over, and I'm going to ask you guys to just, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or concerns. Oh, looking at questions that you guys might be asking. Because here's the thing I want to tell you is, and we don't really talk about this a lot in the webinars, shame on me. I'm here as a value add for SRS Distribution. I work for SRS Distribution proudly. If you ever want to set up a meeting and say, hey, John, let's get on a call for 30 minutes with me and my sales guys to talk about objections, talk about asking for the sale, talk about the company story. It's very easy today with Zoom, teleconference technology for all of us to get on a call and have this conversation. The only thing that I would ask is that you make sure that all of your salespeople are on the screen. Because I want to be able to look at people. I want to be able to have a conversation. I want to be able to, develop a relationship with you guys, because it's really easy for them to just sort of go, screw this guy. If we're all not sort of somewhat looking each other in the eye when we're having these conversations. But talk to your sales rep, talk to your branch manager, reach out to me directly, and we're happy to and eager to support you guys any way that we can. If there's no questions, I know I've gone over. I'm about 8 minutes over. And I apologize for that. I hope this was worthwhile, and look forward to speaking with you guys hopefully in the not too distant future. Thanks for your time.